G'day, Bevan Addison, coming to you today from the Avon Valley, where rather than standing in a nice green crop, we're looking at the residues from a Tennant trial that we had this year. So Tennant is 500 grams per litre metazoclor. It's a root absorbed product, but this trial was looking at it as a post-emergent option in combination with other things such as clethodim or our platinum extra and your Roundup Ready herbicides. So the value of the Tennant is to try and get some residual control, let the other part of the mix do some heavy duty lifting, get some residual control and take the pressure off and try and get multiple modes of action in there to give you a good all-round weed control. So moving across, there's our untreated. If we move across to our Platinum Extra, which is our clethodim 360 gram per litre product, applied at 330 mils, which is the full label rate for canola. It struggled a bit here. The farmer recognised that there's probably some clethodim resistance issues going on, and that probably reflects what we're seeing here. This plot here is our Tennant, the metazoclor product, applied early. Somewhat disappointing as an early application because it didn't rain. We got no rain for at least 18 days afterwards, and consequently the product wasn't washed into the soil properly and didn't get good residual control. It did a fairly similar job to the platinum, so it's not a failure, but it's not perfect. But we don't recommend that you ever put your Tennant in as a standalone product either, because of the risk of that rainfall. And in this plot we start to get stacked herbicides. So we've got Roundup Ready Plant Shield applied with our Platinum Extra and that early application timing, and that's certainly done a better job than what the Platinum standalone has, and it's probably got a bit less residual or a bit less trash and residue than what we saw in the straight Roundup Ready. A good strategy, really works well, multiple mode of action, and good for resistance management. And then for really good control, you go to the doctor. Roundup Ready Plant Shield, clethodim or Platinum Extra, and Tennant. And this is really quite clean, very little residue outside the header trails, but even within the header trails, much lower levels of residual than most of the other plots. So it's tracking very nicely. So you get good knockdown control from the glyphosate and platinum. You get a nice bit of residual control out of your Tennant. And this plot here is pretty much your standard many people are using in a Roundup Ready system, where it's just 2 shots, one early, one late of our glyphosate. Has done a good job, pretty clean, pretty much on a par with the Roundup Tennant clethodim brews, but you're putting a lot of pressure on your glyphosate. So there's a look at it from the other end of the season. Lots of people saw this trial throughout the year, and the results that we're seeing now in that trash residue in the weed seed set reflects very nicely what was happening in that latter part of the season, where we could see the residual values we were getting out of those mixtures that we were using. So important, mix it up, multiple modes of action herbicides, some knockdown, some residual, keep your weed seeds at bay. You grow a better crop because you've got less seeds or less weeds in the crop, but also obviously dumping any weed seed back into the system is really important for long-term weed control and resistance management.